All right, hello, Algebra 2 class. So real quick, a couple reminders. Make sure you're checking your work submissions and your emails. I've been emailing some people and commenting back on work submissions to correct some work. So make sure you're checking those for some feedback. Also, make sure that you're signing in on the discussion portion for attendance, okay? All right, so looking at that discussion from the lesson on Thursday, a few of you all wanted to see a little bit more of the division problem, so that's what we're going to work on first. All right, so the first division problem that we're going to do, if I can have my marker. Okay, so I'm just going to say f of x equals 2x squared plus 7x plus 5. G of x equals x plus 1. Find f divided by g of x. All right, so hopefully you all can see this. All right, so find f divided by g. So I'm going to take function f. This one says it's function f, and it has a couple people comment on like determining which one's f and g. They're labeled f and g. So take function f, which is 2x squared plus 7x plus 5, and divide it by function g, which is x plus 1. Now, anytime that it's a quadratic, you have to factor it, okay? So I'm going to have to factor that numerator. So I'm going to have to do a times c bust the b. So I'm going to try to do that down here in this little spot, okay? All right, so 2 times 5 is 10. So I'm multiplying the 10 but adding the 7. So two numbers that multiply to 10 but add to 7 are 2 and 5. So 2x squared plus 2x plus 5x plus 5, and then factor by grouping. So the greatest common factor of 2x squared and 2x is 2x. So that'll be x plus 2 divided by 2 is 1. Greatest common factor of 5x and 5 is 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1x. 5 divided by 5 is 1. So my factors are 2x plus 5 and x plus 1. And then if there's anything that I can cross-reduce out, cross it out. X plus 1 and x plus 1 are the same factors, so they can cross-reduce out, which leaves me with just 2x plus 5. Okay. Let's do... how about... Let's go and erase that. X squared minus 7x minus 18 and x plus 9. Make that minus 9. Sorry, I'm making this one up off the top of my head. Okay. So, I want you to find f divided by g. So go ahead and pause me, try it, and then we'll look at it. All right, so f, which is x minus 9, divided by g, which is x squared minus 7x minus 18. So the bottom is a quadratic because it has the x squared, so I'm going to try to factor it. So two numbers that multiply to negative 18 but add to negative 7. And I don't have to bust the b here because there's no term in front of x squared. So what two numbers multiply to negative 18 but add to negative 7? Positive 2 and negative 9. And then if you look, both of these x minus 9s cancel out, and I just have x plus 2 left on the bottom. That means I have to put a placeholder of 1 on the top to make sure I show that it's on the bottom. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next concept. If you still need practice, email me, let me know. I'll come up with a few more, maybe another little short video if you need it, all right? All right, so this was the first half of this lesson, function operations, where we add like terms, subtract like terms, multiply by using FOIL, double distribute, and then also dividing them, where if it is a quadratic, you do have to factor and cross-reduce, okay? The next part of this lesson is called composition. So I want to talk a little bit about what a composition is before we begin. A composition is when something's composed of something else. So like, if I say you're a student of Henryville, you are composed of Henryville, okay? So when I say a student of Henryville, that means you are in Henryville, all right? You're composed in it. We can also do that with functions. I'm going to say a compose function f of function g, or compose function g of function f, which means I'm going to take one function and plug it into another function, okay? Mama's doing her lesson. You want to say hi? You want to say hi to the kids? Say hi, kids. I got my hair cut.
Know this?
Know this. You don't want to see Mama teaching the kids. Say, Daddy, can you come get me so Mommy can finish her video? All right. So he's going to lay in the lap, I guess, until I get this going.
No.
All right. So. All right. So the first thing that we're going to look at is the composite functions. Yes, my child's hitting the paper away. All right. So. Well, one moment, please. All right, so we talked about how in that first video that we looked at that to be very careful about composition functions, because if this circle is solid, then that means it's multiplication. If it's an open circle, that means it's a composite function. All right. Now, the way that I'm going to read this one is f of g of x. So that means function f with g of x plugged in. This one is g of f of x. That means function g with f plugged in. So you may have to listen to that a couple times. All right. So if I see, I'm going to write this up here. If I see f of g of x, that means it's not fog, it's f of g of x. I'm going to take function g and plug into f, okay? So you'll see a lot of times I'll underline this because that's the function that it's going to be composed of, and I'm going to underline this and I'm going to plug it in to f because it's going to be function f composed of g. So take function g and plug it into f. All right, so I'm going to write a couple things up here. So f of x, it's an f, is going to be x minus 5. And g of x is x squared. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take f of g of x. So that means I'm going to take function f and plug g of x in it. So I'm going to take g of x and plug it in to f. So I'm going to take g of x and I'm going to plug it in to f. And I'm going to plug it in for the x values. It's a substitution, okay? So this would become x squared, because it's subbing this x squared in for this x, minus 5. And that would be the f of g of x, okay? Now I'm going to do g of f of x, and I'm probably going to need some more room for that one, so let me erase this. Okay, so now I'm going to do g of f of x, which means that I'm going to take function f and I'm going to plug it in to function g. So I'm going to do the same thing up here. I'm going to take function f and I'm going to plug it in to function g. So that's x squared, so that's going to be x minus 5 squared. And you do have to work it out if it's something like squared. So remember squared, so this is what it should look like, but this squared actually means x minus 5 times x minus 5. So that would be x squared minus 5x minus 5x plus 25. So x squared minus 10x plus 25 would end up being the final answer. All right, so that's not the only one I'm going to do, so don't panic. All right. So let's do... All right, so f of x equals x plus 7 and g of x equals 3x minus 4. So I'm going to start off with f of g of x. So I'm going to take g of x and I'm going to plug it into f. So same thing I'm going to do up here. I'm going to underline g of x and plug it into f. Taking g of x and plugging it into f. So that would be 3x minus 4 went in for x plus 7. Then if there's anything to simplify, you should. Negative 4 plus 7, that's 3. So that'll be 3x plus 3. All right, I'm going to erase it, and we're going to go for the opposite. So I'm going to do g of f of x. So I'm going to take function f, and I'm going to plug it into g. I'm going to take function f, and I'm going to plug it in to g, just for the x value. So that'll be 3, and then in for the x value will be x plus 7 minus 4. And you will have to simplify that. So 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 7 is 21, and then 21 minus 4 is 17. All right, I'm gonna write up another one up there, and I'm gonna let you all try it, and then we're gonna go for the last thing. All right. Alright, so find f of g of x and also find g of f of x. So pause me here and go for it. And that's a 2x minus 3. Alright, so f of g of x, I'm going to take g of x and plug it into f. I'm going to take g of x and plug it in to f. So that's 4 times 2x minus 3 plus 2. Distribute that, so that's 8x minus 12 plus 2. So that's 8x minus 10. All right, this one, g of f of x. Take f of x and plug it into g. Take f of x and plug it into g. So that's going to be 2 times 4x plus 2 minus 3. So distribute, so that's 8x plus 4 minus 3. So that's 8x, 4 minus 3 is 1. So 8x plus 1. All right, so last thing is sometimes they're going to put numbers in there. So see how these are x's? That means the answer has an x in them, okay? Sometimes they're numbers, and you have to plug those numbers in. So let me find, I'm just going to leave this one up here, the same problem, because we can do it with this one. All right, I want you to be able to find f of g of 2, which means you're going to have to find g of 2 and then plug it in to f. Now, how do you find g of 2? This is like x equals 2. So I'm going to take 2 and I'm going to plug it into function g. So I'm going to do 2 times 2 minus 3. So I plugged it in right there for g. So 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 minus 3 is 1. After I find g of 2, then I plug it into f. So now that I know this is 1, I'm going to plug it in to f. Okay? So 4 times 1 plus 2. So that's 4 plus 2, which is 6. Okay? Now let's do one more. Hey, can you tell the kids hi again? Let's do g of f of 3. All right. Can you not stand on Mama and let her see? Thank you. Yeah. You say hi.
Football.
Yeah, you got football on your shirt. Can you go get me an M&M? Can you bring me an M&M, please?
No.
Yes, please. Mommy's got to finish this. So f of 3 is what we're going to find first, and then we're going to plug it into g. No. Zach. So take f of 3. Stop it, Bubba. Here, you take this one. There you go. So f of 3, so I'm going to go to f and plug in 3. So 4 times 3 plus 2, so that's 12 plus 2, which is 14. The kids are really getting some entertainment today. And then after I find f of 3, I'm going to plug that into g. So I'm going to plug that into g. So 2 times 14 minus 3, so that's 28 minus 3, which is 25. All right, so watch the video as many times as you need to. There is an assignment today, just a few short problems, just see if you get it, and then tomorrow we'll actually do like a little bit larger of assignment to make sure you really understand. All right, see y'all.